being an entrepreneur sounds cool, but the reality of building a business is very, very difficult. Every level that you hit, there's a lot of things that suck that you just won't want to do. What you're capable of is on the other side. I don't feel like it.
And if you're committed to what it is that you're trying to do, nothing is going to stop you from getting there.
Welcome back to another episode of Real Business Owners with myself, Trevor Cowley. Today's a solo episode. I do want to announce that the Real Business Owners Live event that we do annually is on September 20th. So by the time you guys hear this, it'll be about a month out. It's going to be in Salt Lake City area. It's about 30 minutes outside of Salt Lake in a small town called Rush Valley at an incredible lodge. I'm keeping it small, 80 to 90 people so that it's intimate. I've got 3 speakers. We're going to do some networking stuff. If that's something that you'd like to be a part of, just shoot me a DM and I'll get you over the information. I'd love to see you there. Secondly, this goes out to Trevor Cowley. Trevor was a member of the Real Business Owners Inner Circle and has been for years now. He was actually at one of the first RBO live events that we did in Texas 2 or 3 years ago. He's been an incredible member inside of that community. And yesterday, inside of our close Facebook group, I hear that he had passed away. And I said, what the hell? What's going on? And he got hit by a drunk driver going down the freeway. So she's getting charged with vehicular manslaughter, but I mean, that doesn't do anything to bring him back. And the reason why I wanted to bring that up is, 1, just to show him love, but 2, to remind you guys that it can happen like that at any moment, at any given time. There's a call that I've had with my members before saying, okay, so what you're doing right now is making an exchange for the purpose of one thing, and that's financial security. And my guess is your motivation behind your financial security is going to be your family. And everyone agrees with that sentiment. What about the timeline that it takes you from where you are right now to get where you're trying to go? There's going to be a gap. There's a long exchange that needs to be made in order to get to the outcome of financial security. My question for you is, what about that gap? That 10-year, 15, 20-year timeline of you building something that has the ability to create that outcome. You still have a family. If you're no longer able to produce for the family, then what? If you get hit by a drunk driver, then what? Who's taking care of the family? I'm a massive proponent of life insurance. This isn't a pitch. Like I'm not going to refer you guys to some, hey, go here to get life insurance or, anything like that. I'm telling you based upon my perspective going into the game of entrepreneurship and trying to build businesses and create financial security. I said, well, I believe I'm going to get there regardless because that's my mindset. But I have to cover the gap between where I'm at right now and whatever that timeline looks like in order for me to reach that outcome. So very early on, I got a 20-year term policy for $58 a month for $1 million. I wasn't making a bunch of money back then, but I knew that if something happened to me, my family they'd be able to pay off the house, have some money in the bank, they'd be okay for a while. So this is my plea to you. If you're a business owner and you're in the build phase and you're doing it for your family, make sure that they're still okay, whether it's you that does it or they get it because you're no longer here. But regardless, your family gets the goal that you set for them, which is financial security or a form of that. I'm not saying $1 million is financial security by any means. Not anymore. Like that's the reality of the world that we live in. There is 23.8 million millionaires in the United States. And if there's 300 million people in terms of population, you could do the numbers. A portion of that obviously aren't even adults yet. There's a mass amount of people that have $1 million. That doesn't necessarily mean financial security. But for me, I already knew that at least that was enough to make sure that they were taken care of. So before I go into today's episode, I just wanted to say those 2 things. 1, if you wanted to attend RBO Live, I would love to have you there on September 20th. 2, if you're listening to this podcast, that means that you care about what your results are in life. So therefore, make sure that provided you can't create those results, that your family's still okay. I just wanted those two things to be said before we hop into it. Today, I wanted to talk about, a thought that I had yesterday. Yesterday, I was having a rough day. Today, I'm even having a rough day. I'm telling you right now, running a half marathon a day is very, very, very difficult. It's extremely difficult. But it also lets you know, based upon that level of difficulty, that not a lot of people are going to be willing to go through what you've already gone through in order to get where you are, which is almost 25% to the goal. And then I got to thinking about 75 hard and how so many people utilize that as like somewhat of an accomplishment. See, people will post it on Facebook or post on, hey, I'm on day this, day that. They'll post their screenshot of the actual app, which is all awesome, which is great. I'm all about it. But what it made me realize is human beings have a problem with consistency. And that's the main ingredient in order to be successful. That's the main ingredient in order to have a healthy body. That's the main ingredient in order to have a healthy mind. That's the main ingredient in order to have healthy finances. You have to be consistent in any one of those areas in order to see any level of success, whether small or great. It's going to require consistency. So people are utilizing this program that's 75 days long, which I absolutely love. So I'm not knocking it. But what it's doing is it's showing me, giving me evidence and data to say the average human being struggles to do something that's good for them for 75 days in a row. They get excited about going back to the version of who they were on day 76, and it all gets thrown out the window. But it's a massive an accomplishment for somebody to be consistent for 75 days. Think about that. That's the world that we live in. 75 days, 2.5 months is a massive accomplishment to do something repetitively every single day. So that shows you what you're competing against. If you could show up in a consistent manner for years in a row, what would that look like? If people are getting the results that they get in 75 days and I feel the best that I ever have, and my mental clarity and physically I'm down X amount I'm in the best shape I've ever been. And then to what? To have the key to something that makes you better and then just literally throw away the key because why? It's hard. So the results that you want are going to be hard. And when you're going through something that's hard, that makes you start second guessing yourself, you should actually be utilizing that more so as a reference to the fact that, I'm in the game. This is a positive thing. I see business owners go through this phase of they feel like everything's falling apart in their business. This is happening and this is, I was like, yeah. And things will be happening in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. It's a business. It's a living, breathing thing that has human beings within it that are going to create complications. So there's, you're doing business with customers and you have people inside your organization doing businesses with those guys. So you're having to manage both sides of that. And with human beings that are complicated creatures, there's going to be problems. There's going to be issues. The business will never be problem free. That I could tell you about business. What you have to end up doing is when you get to the point of no longer wanting to be the person to deal with those problems, is you bring somebody else in, like a fresh set of eyes, a new mind, somebody that has the energy to want to take it from where you built it to something even better. Like, yes, you could phase out of the problems. The problems will always be there. It's whether you handle them or somebody else does. This process will always be hard. Building a business will always be a very difficult thing to do. That's what frustrates me about online stuff, where it's, I got out of prison in 2 years, I'm worth da-da-da. Yeah, probably not ethically. Building a real business takes a lot of time. And I'm not saying there hasn't been people to build an awesome business within a couple of years, and kudos to them. But we're talking about a sliver here. The majority of businesses will. I just got off the phone with an individual that will be attending RBL Live, and he's a solopreneur. And I said, oh, really? I said, when do you plan on hiring somebody? That's one of the toughest positions to get out of, is a solopreneur. because you don't know what to delegate first. And he says, well, am I bringing somebody that can just do what I could do and I can just start doing the admin stuff? No. Why wouldn't you bring in somebody to do the admin stuff, the lower wage tasks, where it frees up your time for you to be able to actually make more money throughout the day? And then that more money could be used to then bring somebody else on that helps you make more money as well. Like, the whole process is so hard that it actually forces you to get stuck in analysis paralysis. That's why people aren't making progress, because they're not living with intent. But 75 Hard showed people that when they actually have tasks every single day that are positive, that would move the needle and help them perform better and help them feel better, if they have these non-negotiable tasks, they are forced to live with intent. And when you live with intent, that's a form of consist. Like, I wake up every day with intent. This is what I'm going to do, which creates consistency. So you have an intent problem. You really don't know what it is that you should be doing on a day-to-day basis, or you just haven't flat out just structured it to the point where you're like, I know this is good for me, and regardless of how I feel, I'm going to continue to do those things. The reason why consistency is so difficult is because you have to do the same thing every single day while your emotions are different every single day. And a human being gets taken out based upon how they feel more often than anything else. Businesses die based upon how the owner feels. If the owner doesn't feel like moving it forward, the business will die. Somebody that's really, really, really wants something and has a high, that's going to force them to have a high level intent. Those type of people always figure out how to make things work. So if you're wanting to see a high level of success, it's going to take time. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to require a lot of consistency. Secondly, in the process to building and growing something, make sure that your family's taken care of regardless. If there's one thing that you take away from this podcast, be consistent with what you say. If you say that you care about your family, but if you died today and they're not okay, that's not consistent with what you're saying. So make sure that when you're saying certain things that you actually mean what it is you say. And when I say that, that means putting action behind what it is that you say. Like, move quickly, move with more intent, structure your day, be consistent about it. Make sure that you're showing up the best that you possibly can so that the business gets the best version of you, so that it has the best possibility of getting to the point where it can be successful one day. The business will either be successful based upon you or not based upon you. There's literally nowhere to point the fingers. It all started with you. And every decision that's been made in the organization was a decision that you had a hand in. Whether somebody else made that decision and made a mistake, you still hired that person. You still have a hand in it. There's still ownership to be had in those type of situations. Your inconsistency is what's causing you the majority of the issues. Then when you are consistent, there's this gap, this delayed period of time before you ever see results. And you're going to go through down moments in that phase. And when you don't have the result and you're in a down moment, it's like, why continue? You utilize the current low that you're currently experiencing and project forward and say, I can't do this anymore. I can't live if I feel like this based upon what I'm doing, I can't do this for another 5 years. Based upon a temporary low, you decide to pull back. You decide to honor the feeling rather than honoring the commitment that you said that you had to the outcome. Everything that's going to be worth it's going to be difficult. You know how many people, oh, you're at day what? That's got to be hard. It's like, yeah. Somebody said, you don't eat your first meal till what time? That's got to be hard. Anything for net positive means that you would have to be going up. It's an uphill battle for progress. Hard is the requirement for the outcome. You usually don't make things easier and then things get better. When you become complacent, the results will start to become complacent. When you set numbers and projections and actually sit down and do the hard stuff, this is what what would it take to get there? This is how many people we'd have to work with on a month-to-month basis. What are we working with right now? What's that gap? How do we close that gap? What should we try? Like, sitting down and really having intent to grow your business and understanding where you're at, where you're trying to go, and in what timeline, and what would that take? What would that look like? So then you could start showing up with more intent on a day-to-day basis. I know that you have the ability to do it because every human does, but to live in a manner in which produces positive results in a massive way is one of the most difficult things I think that anybody will ever go through, whether you're talking about financially, whether you're talking about physically, whether you're talking about building your fortress mentally, whether you're talking about spiritually. These are all very difficult journeys. That's why you do have to fortify your body, your mind, and make sure that you are the best version of you to go into this battle and actually succeed and actually win. 75 Hard shows you who you're competing against. The bar isn't set that high if we're celebrating 75 days of consistency in regards to things that are positive for the individual. Like, think about that. Now think about a lifetime and then think about 75 days. On my difficult days, I future project. When I'm 50, I'm going to look back on this and be so proud that I did it. That's how I get through difficult days. That's not to say that that's how you're going to get through difficult. Everybody's got to do their own thing, but you have to figure out what works for you, and the lesser version of you won't figure that out. The lesser version of you will succumb to the low and fall into complacency. That's just how it works, and I don't want to see it. I hope this episode hit home. I hope that you realize the power of consistency, the power of intent, the reason of why you need to make sure that your family's taken care of regardless, because we all don't know what's going to happen. Make sure you're rating and reviewing the show. Other than that, keep kicking ass. We'll see you guys next week.